Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you might call him the godfather of networking. The great Bill Wallace from Success North Dallas is in the house next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I am so proud to introduce my next guest because he is a friend, he's a mentor. He has been with me since the very beginning. When I wrote my book, Free Publicity, in 2002, he was one of the first people who took me under his wing and said, I've got some people that you need to meet. And what a journey it has been. Bill Wallace, founder of Success North Dallas, is in the house. Bill, thanks for coming on the show.
Jeff, thank you, and it has been a beautiful journey. From that day you called me and said, I was told if I want to write a book in Dallas, I need to know you. And I said to you, you're the reporter. What are you talking about? And here we are 25 years later.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Oh, this wasn't what you've built. 8 studios in Austin, and you're in Austin, and
hold
all
on,
over.
hold
My
on.
gosh.
You're bragging about me. I'm
I
supposed to
am
be bragging about you.
I am bragging about you. Because the things that we've done together over the years have been hallmark things.
Thank you.
That have just created unbelievable outcomes.
Thank you. All right, I want you to take us back to the very beginning of Success North Dallas because it's 35 years old and counting. The very early days, how did it start?
In March of 1988, my mentor, Herb Kelleher, Southwest Airlines, said to me, and I quote, Wallace, when you figure out why I should do business with you, come back. Now get out and figure it out. And if you know anything about Herb Kelleher, that was so typical of him. And he called the next day and he said, I said, so I'm working this thing. And he said, think about it. Anytime the phone rings and you answer it, you get excited about somebody that's on that phone. That's who you want involved. So I set out to create a very high level networking and mentor group as an informal board of directors. And over the next 5 months, I went to 48 different networking groups in North Texas, a couple in Houston. I remember going to one in Austin and said, nope. And looking for the things that people did not like. My goal was to eliminate all of those things in this group and create a safe space. And so those things were card pushers, pitch bookers, selling of wares in the room, selling from the lectern, paying of speakers, and women. 1988, folks, women. And so I go back to Herb and my other mentor, Roger Meyer, who was the largest Cadillac dealer in the Southwest at that time. So I had an airline guy and a car guy. And said to him, I'm going to start this group. And I went through the list of what I was going to eliminate, and I got down to women. Herb said, yeah. Roger said, yes. And I said, no, except women. And I'll never forget, Herb looked at me and he said, you're going to have a hard time. And I said, no, sir. I'm going to have a very hard time because we are going to make this group a minimum of 30% women from day one. And I was told things by my friends that weren't so nice. And I was told at a point I was an idiot. I was wasting my time. But ladies, you're why we're here 35 years later. You were the disruptors that helped me create transformational change and networking throughout the U.S. And if you know anything about Southwest Airlines, what Herb said to me when I said 30% women, he stood up and he put his hand on his hip and he said, well, heck, Wallace, I gave him hot pants and dues. You give them women and networking. And I didn't realize how deep that statement was until we did our 25th anniversary. Only lunch meeting we've ever held. And Dave Johnson at Ambridge Hotels, our CEO, paid for the whole thing for 440 people. Ross Perot Sr. welcomed, Boone Pickens hosted. We had the CEOs of Fluor, USAA, 7-Eleven, and Buffett's Company, BNSF, all on the same dais, and we honored Nancy Lieberman. And when I turned and I looked out at the audience, I then understood what Herb really said. The audience was 50% women, one of my very proudest moments. And it took me 25 years to really understand the depth of what Herb is saying in his joking manner. But again, that's how he ran.
Yes.
And Southwest Airlines. And so that's kind of a thumbnail of the start of it. And we've had, oh my gosh, Jeff.
Just everybody who's anybody. In fact, while you're thinking about that, we're going to pull up your photo gallery from the website.
Oh my.
And as we scroll down this, it just goes on for days, but pretty much a who's who in the speaking world. And some of these people could easily command $10,000, $20,000 to give a speech.
So far this year, half of our speakers get more than 25 plus to speak. And in 35 years, Jeff, we've never paid a speaker or their expenses, nothing. I see one of my proudest meetings every year. We're presenting the Dallas Police Officer of the Year Award. And we started that the year you founded Real News PR 25 years ago.
Wow.
And we presented that every single year. We've had some of the top people from the head of Scotland Yard to Chris Kennedy Lawford. Craig Hall calls up and says, hey, I've got a new book coming out. Could I speak? Colleen Barrett, the COO of Southwest Airlines, Norman Brinker. These people have come and asked to speak. And it's, there's Colonel Powell passing us. Shortly after that, there's number 2 finisher on Survivor, Mama Cass, and she flew in from Florida. And we keep looking at these things, and I keep seeing these people as. And it's not like I forget
right.
who all's. I mean, when we started, the CEO of Deloitte, of Emphasis out of India, and it goes on and on and on. And I look back, and we've had so many great names, I can't even remember them all.
And you get easily 200 people on a Wednesday morning once a month at 7 a.m. I mean, that's incredible.
Well, the funniest thing is the club, because we have people that start getting there at 6:30. We used to open the buffet at 7:15, then it got back to 7. Now we open the buffet at 6:45. And by 7:15, you're hunting a seat. And the meeting starts at 7:30 and ends at 9:15. But it's that meat of the networking, the interaction that goes on before the meeting that's really the meat of the meeting. When I'm talking with a speaker about coming in, my statement is very simply this. The title of the talk and bullets that we put out are 25% of the talk. The intro is 25% of the talk, and the talk is 50%. And Jeff, I've retitled probably 70% of the talks, rewritten probably 50 to 70% of the intros, because you have to know your audience. And, I'm part of the National Speakers Association. I was chair of North Texas NSA's marketing and for 2 years. But I learned the business of speaking from the National Speakers Association. And that helped so much. And that also fed a new line of speakers. But my mentor became, one of my mentors, Dan Clark. He's one of the top 10 speakers in the world out of Salt Lake City, out of Utah. He is considered to be the new Bob Hope. He's spoken at more military bases than Bob did on his own dime.
Wow.
And so people like this, and Jeff Hazlett, the founder of C-Suite, when he was CMO at Kodak, he's how I met Trump. And it goes on and on and on. We're in California doing events, and lo and behold, hey, let's do a cocktail party at Keith Crotch's home, who founded DocuSign, who was the Undersecretary of Commerce. And, it's about access. And that's what I tried to create in Success North Dallas, because I don't care how many widgets you have, how many patents you have, how many PhDs you have. Without access, you really have nothing. And that's what Success North Dallas provides. We tell our speakers, current, topical, with immediate takeaways. We look for a name that'll fill the room, even if they speak on janitorial services, or a topic that'll fill the room, even if the janitor speaks on it. It sounds tongue-in-cheek, but it's worked for 35 years. And I truly believe when I look at our young executives,
Yes.
oh my God, they are so powerful. And I look at the next 2 generations of leadership. And after a meeting 3 months ago, I was sitting in the restaurant area at Prestonwood Country Club, where we've met for 30 years this month, our 30th anniversary there. And I literally teared up a little bit. But my feelings were that Success North Dallas, with what we have with the young executives, what we have in the current leadership, the CEO and the COO that I put in a year ago, October, what we have, Matt, will in fact ensure that Success North Dallas will see a 100th anniversary.
Amen.
Without any question, just like Real News PR will.
Thank you. Well, we're going to talk more about young executives and the new CEO in a second, but I want to go back to, we've got some video of you talking to Scott Murray, legendary broadcaster here in Dallas. And I know this is your baby and it's been your baby for so long. When did you start thinking about, who to pass the torch to? When did you start thinking about that?
When I started this, I thought it'd last 3 to 5 years. I'd pay my dues. I quote, according to Kelleher, separate myself from the herd. And on that 5th year, this little voice comes to me, the big guy upstairs. And he says, Wallace, go back to work. You're not done yet. Go back to work, my son. You're not done yet. And at that point, I made 5 sage goals. And one of those goals was to have a female follow me as CEO and owner, in fact, of Success North Dallas because of the impact women made as our disruptors in helping us create transformational change. So when we turned 25, I went to my friend Stan Richards Group, and I said, well, help me look at this and help me understand what I need to do. Because being in the insurance business and having worked with now 164 startups, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've seen that 90% of succession plans don't work. 5% sort of kind of work, and 5% really work. And we're certainly in that 5% that are really working. But so at 10 years, I started looking, and 3rd time's the charm, very simply. But I wanted a strong woman whose shoes I could not fill. I wanted to continue to create a safe space. And I believe truly I've worked harder at keeping Success North Dallas a safe space for both men and women. It's been the hardest thing I've had to do, and most important, that through these efforts, we are staged to go on the next to 100 years. And I put in, we started something called Partner Members, of which Real News PR is in fact a partner member. It's a high dollar, and it was to ensure that we would have the financial capabilities to continue on at that point another 25 years. And we put this in, we did a few other things at our 25th anniversary, but that was when the search really started. That's when I saw that it had the capability, it had the legacy, just didn't have the right person at that. And our tagline is connecting the right people for the right reasons at the right time. And so I went on that search 10 years ago.
Well, one of the things I'm most proud of you for, Bill, is seeing that in order for any organization that's this mature to continue to evolve is by inviting in the next generation. And we've got some video of young executives. So tell us how this came about. Whose idea was it? When did you think, okay, how do we get people under, say, 35 involved in Success North Dallas?
Well, we looked at Success North Dallas, and we looked at our age, and we were a bunch of old people. Not really, but we needed the youth. So we created this opportunity for evening events with a speaker, not just a happy hour, but evening events with a learn, as we quote called it. And we started inviting younger people. We asked the people in our group to bring their heir apparents in, to bring their kids in. And lo and behold, we had some of the top names in Dallas involved in this, because it's not like other groups, just like Success North Dallas is not like other groups. It is truly a safe space where you can come and be you. You can find mentorship. You can find anything you need, product, consulting, out of our room. And that's what we look for. We never had a corporate member until we turned 25.
Wow. Well, I love it that you've passed on this information to the next generation, because so many young people think, networking is, growing your LinkedIn profile or getting more friends on Facebook, and you got to circulate to percolate. Maybe talk for a couple of minutes about the importance of young people learning how to network.
Over the course of time, I've mentored 35 juniors to doctoral candidates. And people say, well, why do you mentor? Why do you take this time? And I answer it. There's three reasons I do. They ask me questions I would never think to be asked or to ask. They challenge me in ways I never, ever thought I could be challenged, and they keep me young. And it's just very simple. That's why I mentor. That's why 85 other members of Success North Dallas have mentored and organized mentoring programs. And every young executive that comes in, if they want it, they get a mentor. Every young executive, if they want it, they come with me or go with somebody, Real News PR, to Craig Hall's, whatever it may be. I'll never forget the event that we did at Craig Hall's when he brought out a new book, and he had spoken that morning, and we did a happy hour at Hall Park, downtown Dallas, in the Art Garden. And Craig actually delayed a flight and took a red eye to stay there and autograph books even longer. We drank all the wine we brought, so he opened up his wine, his Hall wines, of his own, quote, stash there. And I looked at this crowd, because this was our first real endeavor to bring the young people in. And the young faces in this crowd that were coming, interacting, and staying,
Yes.
when they could go to any bar, happy hour in town, amazed me. So from that, we kind of launched this. We launched this the year before COVID, so obviously it did this. But as we came out of COVID, one of our sage goals was to put as much effort as humanly possible into the young executives, to nurture the young executives. Now, you've got 60 to 80 young people there every single time, and these people are also coming to Success North Dallas. So it's you could call it in sales a sales funnel, but it's our developmental league. It's our B team that's going to come up and be the stars of our A team.
You've done such.
And it's just, it amazes me. And it's not me. It's this new leadership that just came in and said, we are doing this. And the new CEO I put in a year ago, October, Andrew Reed, well, he's been president of the Young Executives. He's not now. He's passed it on to Taylor Hastings. But he jumped in and said, no, this is what we need to do. And my gosh, what Andrew did and what Taylor's doing now, I couldn't have done.
Wow, that's so cool. Okay, let's spend some time talking about Casey Hastings.
Who?
We're putting some video up on the screen because you guys have become really good friends, and she's been very public in her praise for your mentorship. Tell us why Casey, why now?
Casey came to me when she first became a part of Success North Dallas and became a real pest. I mean, she was saying, what can I do to help? What can I do? I'm here. Just tell me. She would call me up and say, we got a meeting coming up. What do you need help with? And just brought herself in with a genuine, burning desire to get involved. So we started a mentorship program, and I began mentoring Casey. I spoke at her company, VIP, a very high-level search firm that specializes only in accounting, and met her boss. And the next thing I knew, her boss was getting involved, the owner. And now he's sponsoring our young executives and underwriting them. And Casey kept getting more involved, and I mentored her for 2 years, and she did not know that I had picked her. She had no idea. Andrew had no idea. Both of them have said, we would never have put us together. And I said, my number two, Jan Claudner, has been with me 34 of the 35 years. People have said, you two should never have been put together. But yet it's that balancing that's going to work and is working. In the last year, Casey and Andrew have done things I would never have done because you have just so much bandwidth. But we now have an incredible women's movement, women's group, Success North Dallas Women that are meeting quarterly. And we're literally waitlisting people to get into that. I mean, we've had 20, 30 on the wait list to come to one of the events. They're evening events done quarterly, and they are learning events. They're not just come together to have some hors d'oeuvres and a few drinks. And then middle of last year, or toward the end of last year, we started our Veterans Initiative, which also is meeting quarterly. So under their leadership, the young executives have exploded. The Women's Initiative has absolutely blown us all away. And the Veterans Initiative is getting some strong legs under it.
So, Bill, you have to be so proud because I know you had a near-death experience a year or so ago. And lying in that hospital bed, you probably had to wonder, what would happen to my baby? And now you have to feel like this baby is in good hands.
This baby's in good hands. While I was in the hospital for 6 weeks, the last week or two, we had attorneys there. We had Casey and Andrew there, Jan Claudner. And I died twice, 12 transfusions, 6 weeks in the hospital. And so we accelerated this is so funny. We accelerated our succession plan. And I remember telling Casey, I said, okay, it's time. She said, time for what? I said, in October, you're taking over. You're becoming CEO. You're going to be running some of the meetings. I missed 2 meetings while I was in the hospital. They ran them, and they did it well. I had missed 1 meeting before this in 35 years when I was on a mountaintop with my son at Camp Alexander, Boy Scouts in Colorado. And we accelerated this succession plan by 2 years, but they were ready. They'd been mentored. And so October of last year, 2022 was it? Oh my gosh, time is flying. I made Casey and Andrew CEO and COO. Over the last year, having watched them grow, after 35 years, I passed the ownership to Casey Haston and her team. Her company is 100% behind this. She is 100% behind this. I've never seen somebody work so hard for something. And Andrew, like Jan Claudner, is kind of behind the scenes, but he brought he's an IP attorney, an engineer, involved in a very high-level intellectual property law firm, and knows more about technology than Jan Claudner and I combined times 1,000. And he's brought a whole new technology. They're doing a whole new CRM. They are just mind-boggling. And I can truly stand up and walk to the lectern and say, I put this organization and this legacy, my legacy, in the hands of a lady whose shoes I cannot fill with what she's already done over the last year. So that's why.
All right, Bill, we got about a minute left, so I want you to give us final thoughts and also leave the way you leave every meeting.
My final thoughts are, if you haven't been to a Success North Dallas meeting, you must come. Come as our guest. We meet the third Wednesday of every month from 7 to 9:15 a.m. at Prestonwood Country Club on Preston Road in North Dallas. Just come and sample the water. It's amazing. I've had people say, I've been coming here for 6 months and nobody's approached me, this was a woman, in any way but a professional way, and that's never happened to me before at any other group. I've had people say there's a spiritual quality to this room. I've had people say, I'm coming back. And all of a sudden we see a private jet landing at Addison Airport to come to our meeting. We see 3 or 4 of them sometimes. This year, we've averaged people from 9 states coming in for Success North Dallas meetings. So my final thought is, come see us. Come see us as our guest. Bring a friend with you. And we close every meeting, and I close every talk I give on networking, which I speak on around the U.S. and world, in this manner. May you do what you love to do with people you love to do it with on purpose. God bless and Godspeed. And thank you, Jeff Crilley, for all you've done over the years.
Thank you for your friendship.
It's been a heck of a friendship.
You bet. We're going to end with the website, which is successnorthdallas.com. The great Bill Wallace. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, friend.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.